Hey folks, so I got home about an hour ago and tended to my birds. I wanted to sit right down and fall asleep, folks, but I figured I could rest tonight. So I've been I've been away for about 16 hours. So that's long enough. That's long enough. We had some sun today. It was rather nice out. It wasn't hot. We had a nice breeze and the garden went boom. It did. It exploded after all that rain. So that's good. That's good. So I didn't want to work too hard for supper tonight. So I just went around and thinned out my greens, went around my garden and collected some wild weeds, and I will make a salad out of that. All I have to do is I'm thinning, and no sense in throwing those thinnings away when they're microgreens. You might as well eat them, right? And if they're raw, they're even better for you. So that's what I've got here, and I will run down. I will run down a list of what I just harvested to go in my salad. But folks, somebody said today, because a lot of people call me LJ, short for Laura Jean, right? LJ, you used to, every time I see you, you'd be singing, you'd be humming, you'd be smiling, you'd be so upbeat and so happy and really silly and just a pleasure to be around. Always good to see you. And I said, well, I said, it's not a pleasure to see me now. And she goes, no, 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 no. She goes, you just look so serious and so determined to do what you need to do and then move on to something else. And we don't hear you singing much. We don't hear you humming much. We hear you laughing, but we don't hear you being silly anymore. We always knew when you came to the building, you'd always be singing or humming. I said, well, I have a lot on my mind. You know, it's really busy at home, and I never want to be away from home because one, there's so much to do, and two, just the populace is just angry and people are not happy, and it's just I'd rather be home in my own little bubble. And I do sing and I do hum while I'm out in the yard. I tend to I tend to belt, just sing right out in song. No one's gonna hear me about my birds, right? Now, once in a while, if the wind is blowing just right and there's no traffic way out, and Shay, my cousin Shay, is outside, she said she can hear me singing, and so I do sing. I'm more content when I am at home in surroundings that I am familiar with, and even though I'm familiar with the surroundings where I go to work, I'm there to work. I'm just there to work, and I just want to do my job and I want to come home, right? So, she goes, I used to just kind of to shrug my shoulders and just took life day by day. She goes, a while back you had to talk with me and you encouraged me to pay attention what's going on and what's going to happen. And I said, oh yeah, way back during the pandemic, right? She goes, yeah. She goes, I just brushed that off. She goes, and you was pretty serious about it. You were just trying to help me out so I can help my family out. And she goes, and I just didn't think anything of it. She goes, but now, my God, she goes, the world has just gone crazy. she goes, everything is going up. She goes, we don't know what's going to happen. And she goes, I've got a garden. She goes, but I don't think it's going to be it's not big enough. She said, it's not big enough. And she goes, we were going to get turkeys and we decided not to. And she goes, now we wished we had. And so people are, it's nice to see that they're seeing that maybe they should have listened a little closer. Maybe they should have took me a little more serious. But now they're realizing that it's too late to catch up. Those are her words, not mine. She goes, it's too late to catch up to be where we want to be to try to make ends meet. I said, I understand that. I really do understand that. And she goes, she goes, I go into stores and people just aren't happy. She goes, they're grumpy and she goes, no one is laughing anymore. No one is holding conversation anymore. And I said, no, they're not. They're not. She goes, and then you became serious and she goes, I used to like it when you used to come in and singing and humming. She goes, it brought a smile to my face and other people's faces. And there's LJ. LJ's here. And it always would bring a smile to our face. She goes, but now it's like you're quiet and you're doing your own thing and you say only what you need to say. And then she goes, and then you leave. I said, yeah. I said, I'm sorry I haven't been more friendly. I said that I just don't realize I'm in my own little world and I'm there to do a job, and I guess while I'm here I want to be home, and so I guess I can sing you a tune if you want me to. She goes, no, that's okay. That's okay. So people are starting to realize, and they're going to realize more and more. And like she said, it's a little too late to get ahead. It's a little too late to get ahead, you know? So I guess I just wanted to share that, and I'm going to go eat. That's a big salad, folks. Well, let me show you. Let's see what we got here. Where am I? Right there. Well, if you can see, I can't, so. Okay, what I've got is I thinned out my lettuce. I've got some kale, microgreens. I've got some spinach microgreens. I have some turnip microgreens. I have some beet microgreens, some Swiss chard microgreens. I have some wood sorrel that is wild. I've got a couple onion tops. I've got a pea pod in here somewhere. The garlic is back to the house. That right there is kind of, well, let me get the other one out of the way. That right there is kind of lancet shaped or rocket shaped or however you want to call that, or maybe a fish. And it's a soft plant, and that is a sheep sorrel, okay, versus the wood sorrel that kind of looks like a shamrock, kind of, sort of. Sheep sorrel, folks, is really, really good to keep you healthy, and they use sheep sorrel to treat cancer, okay? So that is, whoops, we don't need a pine needle in there. So that's what I've got. I'm going to go home and I'm going to go back to the house. I am going to rinse them off and I'm going to pick through them to make sure they're all good, pick out any that I don't think are good enough to eat, and chop it up a little bit finer. And there is my supper, folks. That's a big salad for me. That's a real big salad. So like I said, I'll cut up or mince the garlic scape, and I will eat it just like that. So there's my supper. I weeded my garden. I thinned out my plants, and I got my meal, folks. So thank you for coming back. And see you next time.